Well, good. Casey,
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you're at in the world. Um, I am with Nathan's team on the board of advisors for Riley Risk, and I'll be participating in the briefing today, and I'll give you a little bit more background when we get there. But
perfect.
glad to be a part of it and like what everybody's doing.
Thank you so much for joining, Casey, and thanks for that. Yes, good update that you're going to give us. I had a chance to do a little. Um, I picked a little bit on the results, and they're very interesting. Juan,
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan Polese. I'm the CEO of Venezuela International Logistics in Venezuela.
thank you, Juan. So tell us, and if you don't mind, you are in Venezuela, and I think at least last time you were the only one in Venezuela. How are you feeling? How's everything going? How's the situation since we last spoke?
Well, people is excited in some way. Very optimistic about the situation. However, we have the same government in place. Some major changes of officials. But it's a day by day situation improvement. We're seeing some things moving forward, and then three steps back. It is I will say that was expected in some way. Um, Regarding economics, we're seeing a lot of new openings or at least announcements. Of new oil companies coming or mining things going on. But the most important things will start after the biggest changes in the legislation. I think that is the next step that must be taken by this whatever it is. I don't know how to call it. But if they set a good legislation, I will say that things will start moving even faster than they are right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing, and I'm sure we'll get back to you with additional questions and comments after we see the
Sure.
presentation. Mayra, good morning.
Hi, my name is Mayra Sanchez. I'm part of the Healing Venezuela charity team. And Marius is very early in his country. I'm in London now, in UK, and well, I try. It's my first time here, but yes, I'm happy to stay here and meet everyone.
Well, thank you so much for joining, Mayra. And could you tell us a little bit more about what your organization does and what you do? And are you originally from Venezuela? What's your connection with Venezuela, other than, of course, the organization?
Here in Venezuela, we have different health programs. We support to try to help the health situation there. Our programs, we are working with junior doctors, with doctors on the public hospitals. We try to have connection with the first technology as well, and we are here in London. We are in United States, north of England, and we are in France as well. We are a small charity, but we are doing the best, really great impact on the people. We support a lot of poverty there because the hospitals is, about the situation there, and we try to have to do the best. Here is in London is the main. We try to make a different events as well, to have connections, networking, to try to find money for the charity. We are not talking about politicians. We are humanitarian organization, but of course we are very present with the situation we have. We don't feel any improve. It's the same. We still with the same compromise with Venezuela, with the country. I think the big difference is because a lot of people are talking about Venezuela, and this is an amazing scenario for us because the people knows more about what happened in Venezuela, and I think the people will be helped more about through the donations. And we receive a lot of invitations in different programs. For example, we didn't attend all because some programs is not part of our objective. But yes, we try to continue help the people there.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for sharing and congratulations what you guys do. Ernesto,
Hi.
¿qué tal, Ernesto?
All good. So yeah, I know some of you here. So I'm the founder of Tech Cargo. We are an MBOCC headquartered in Miami, and I'm based in Barcelona. And we have an office in Venezuela as well. Um, our main markets today are Cuba and Venezuela. And of course, we're seeing what's happening in Venezuela, and hopefully, we see copycats happen in Cuba. So, but I will have to agree with Juan that things will be slow or slower than we wish. However, we're seeing an increase in requests for tendering jobs. And of course, within our niche or specialty levels, we specialize in trade finance. And of course, the demand for financial services or products are too big, except that Venezuela is still not bankable because legislation ain't there yet. So we're very hopeful that the legislation will change soon so we can enact all our capabilities in the market. But as of now, we on the logistics side, we're seeing more demand for especially project cargo and things of that sort. So
Got it. Thank you so much, Ernesto, and once again, thanks for joining as well. Arthur?
Hi, everybody. My name is Arthur Mello. I'm speaking from São Paulo. I'm the Community Outreach Manager for Ward Central Kitchen. And we are here to gather more information to understand whether we activate or not. And thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely, and congratulations for what you guys do. We're big fans of you and your organization, so thank you. And you said Sao Paulo, right?
São Paulo, exactly.
Are you going to be at the Intermodal Supply Chain Forum in Sao Paulo?
I don't think so.
Do you know what I'm talking about or no?
No, sorry.
I will gladly send you. It's one of the more I guess relevant and bigger supply chain shows in Latin America, and it's every year in Sao Paulo. It's
Wow.
called Intermodal Sao Paulo. But I'll send you additional information later.
Amazing. Thank you,
Might be
Enrique.
might be interesting for you to join if you can.
Yes, thank you.
Um, Abram, Abram.
Yeah. Hey, Enrique. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet everyone here. My name is Abraham Prada. I'm originally from Bolivia. Have a couple of professional and personal connections to Venezuela. I'm married to someone from Venezuela, and one of my business partners is Venezuelan as well. My background is in private equity and investment banking. My last job was at Apollo Global Management, the private equity fund, and before that at JP Morgan, leading their energy infrastructure project finance desk. And now me and a couple business partners are looking to set up a infrastructure slash logistic real estate fund to invest in Venezuela, speaking with a couple family offices and institutional investors that are starting to see Venezuela as an investable opportunity. So wanted to join this call, meet everyone, and basically trying to see what potential pipeline there is in Venezuela. I hear Ernesto saying there could be some, that there's activity in Cuba that's super, I would say, promising and encouraging to hear. So our backgrounds are in logistics, infrastructure, real estate. So agree with Juan that things, probably will take some time to move, but our thesis is that the first sectors that will start seeing more investments are the ones that are linked to real assets and the real economy. Nice to meet everyone.
Very nice to meet you as well, Abraham. And where are you headquartered?
I'm in New York.
You're in New York.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining. And Jose?
Hi everyone. I am also from Tescargo. I work together with Ernesto, but I am based in Valencia. As Ernesto already mentioned it, we have an office in Venezuela. I am from Venezuela. I left Venezuela in 2015. And well, I am involved directly with developing test cargo services in Venezuela on the logistics side. And in the future, we expect to also do it on the trade finance side. And yes, we have been feeling the the awareness of the market asking for new businesses, new investment from all, United States principal and other places around the world to Venezuela. So our interest is to keep growing into the Venezuelan market as we already doing for a long time.
Well, thank you very much for joining, Jose, from Valencia, and thank you for your comments. Nathan, I left you at the very last, so you can tell us about you, and then, of course, if you don't mind, share what you and Casey and your team has put together.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, so Nathan Ackerman, Managing Director for Riley Risk. We do a lot of bespoke security and intelligence advisory support for organizations working in what we deem complex or high risk markets, whether it be Haiti, Ukraine, Nigeria, DRC. Venezuela fits that model for a variety of reasons. So in terms of what we're going to be showing today, Casey's going to be presenting it. It's really, the patience theme, I think, is kind of baked in there, right? And I think that's something to kind of take away from that. But there's certainly some indicators that I think everyone here on the call is going to find to be interesting and to be worth monitoring in the days and the weeks ahead here for sure. So that's our role in this call. And then Casey, if you could tell a little bit about yourself, your background experience, as it ties to Venezuela as well. Very briefly, I'll pull up the briefing here so I can share it on my screen here in just a second.
Okay, yeah, great. Thanks, Nathan, and thank you, everybody. I wrote down questions for pretty much everybody, so I'm interested to continue to collaborate. But my background, I was a United States Marine counterintelligence agent and human intelligence case officer. I focused a lot on supply chain risk management, and I spent a good portion of my career focused on South America and Venezuela in particular. And so I have some historical knowledge, and the current situation is of pretty significant personal and selfish interest for me, just because I invested so much time working on that situation. And then I'm going to go through this brief that we've put together, and I'll try and provide. I know everybody has significant expertise and experience, either in Venezuela particularly, or with the types of environments and operations that we're discussing. So I'll keep it relatively high level, and I'm going to speak sort of from a, I guess, intelligence analyst type of perspective. Please, at any point, if anybody has additional insights or corrections, because I know things are evolving rapidly, please feel free to interrupt or write down your questions or comments. And once we get to the end of the presentation, I'll turn it back over to Nathan, and he can discuss more of the Q&A and what Riley Risk does and how it relates. And Nathan, for you as well, please feel free to jump in any point if I miss some key details or there's additional context.
I'm sure we'll be fine. And just to set expectations, this slide deck's really only nine slides long, right? So it's going to be pretty brief in terms of that context. And then to tie in after this briefing, we are actually issuing, our geopolitical and security analyst team is issuing a special report, which is about a 40-page report, a deeper analysis, more of a regional analysis on the Monroe Doctrine 2.0, right? So that's something we'll share out to everyone as a group, because what's happening in Venezuela, we've already heard Cuba mentioned, and a couple other like regional players, right? So this is not just solely focused on one country for sure. So I think that'll be of very great interest to everyone here on the call. So go ahead and take it away, Casey.
Yeah, so I'd like to start with the summary slide and say that I don't think any of these numbers are new information to anybody. We all know that there's a significant need, a significant shortfall, and a very volatile and unpredictable situation in the immediate future that changes rapidly. I think one of the key points that, from my perspective, coming from the intelligence and risk background and supply chain risk management background, is preparation beforehand. For example, one of the things that I worked pretty heavily on throughout my career when I was an active Marine was emergency action plans for U.S. embassies or U.S. interests. And the idea, the hope is that you never have to use one of those. You never have to implement an emergency action plan. But it's better to have them prepared and ready to go and be able to track trends in real time than to come up with a solution after the fact. But I think we're all tracking the situation that got us where we're at to get us to this meeting. Nathan, do you have anything to add there?
No, yeah, I think kind of those who have worked in all these type of environments know the preparation is going to be kind of like the staging point, right? A lot of the organizations like World Central Kitchen, Arthur, we've supported World Central Kitchen in about 8 different countries. I know John H and John C really well, right? So I know what you guys do in the field, and it's an incredible effort for sure, right? So like what you're looking to be prepared for from a knowledge standpoint and resources is going to be much different than another company, like a logistics company trying to move hard materials, right? But they all tie in together, right? Logistics is kind of the key ingredient here, right? So that's definitely, it's understated, but it's still important. It's fundamental, I think.
Yeah, so now we'll get into the timeline. Again, I'm sure that everyone is intimately familiar with this, so I won't belabor the point. But some of the key points that I wanted to highlight, and essentially, we don't know what the political outcome is going to be or what that timeline looks like. Everybody has sort of competing views on what it should be, and what it should be is not necessarily what it will be. But I was very, very curious to hear what when Juan was speaking, some of the ideas about how things are going there and in real time. And the other key points, the oil market has opened back up, the oil sector, with significant hurdles, aging infrastructure, some unwillingness by foreign companies to invest without knowing what is going to happen moving forward, and just the general unease about how that investment, what the risk actually looks like, which is what we do here is try and provide that real-time update and analyze the risk and provide mitigation strategies as well.
Juan, I was going to ask Juan the same thing, Casey, about any local up-to-date comments being there with the maybe the elections. How are the people looking at the potential candidates, etc.?
You want to know about elections? Right now, you cannot I cannot give you a proper expectation of what's going to be. Only if we follow the current electoral law, it will take more than 6 months just to put everything together. But that will be if we don't have to remove all the electoral power, if we don't have to update all our database for the votants that are not in the country, which are almost 9 million persons. We don't know how many people have left. We have different estimations for NGOs that track this, but it's really impossible to know. And right now, there is no trust in the electoral power, and it is pretty much obvious why. It was we think that they might steal not only the last election, but maybe at least 10 elections before that. They use the same machines, they use the same procedure. Now they just, they came into evidence that we're doing that. And but they, burn all the material from the previous election, so it's impossible to check. They guard all this material in some warehouses that they only control. So it's really impossible to check it, in a proper way. So if we're going to have a new elections with, I will say everybody wants that, but you have to clean the house first. You have to put some people that the population can trust. You have to do a manual process that can be verified in all stages, so there is no doubt of the result, because what we are seeing is that it's going to be a major change in the power balance. And if that comes, the losers will have to accept it, and it's not easy. They have been in power for 25 years and they have done whatever they pleased. So I think that this must be taken into consideration. I know they are doing it, but it's not so easy. One of the things that I'm seeing in one of the slides is that there are some groups, armed groups, controlling some sectors, and that is totally right. Here in the city, we're not seeing it like before. Before it was worse. You cannot go out. They can stop you at any time, search your phone or things like that. But we know that in some regions in the country, there are like guerrilla, and they are controlling the sectors, mining sectors, or some other places which are from importance, mainly economic importance. So you cannot do free transit in those areas. Also, if you go parts such as the northeast of the country, which was taken by the drug activity, you cannot freely go around there. There are even towns that live from processing of cocaine and transit, storage, and processing. So is they have to take strong steps in security. I don't know if the political sector that is now in place is going to cooperate in all that. We have to see about that. In some cases they are involved, so it's not clear for me. I don't know if this answered your question.
No, it did, and it gave us very good context around what Casey was saying. So thank you so much, Juan. Casey, I'll back to you.
Yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that. And actually, the slide after this one we'll discuss our perspective from an analytic standpoint as well. And again, just to give some background on my history working with Venezuela, I worked sources that were part of some of those armed groups, so I do know how they operate and how we'll get to it more in the next slide. So back to where I left off. From an access perspective, you can see that, like you said earlier, there have been new routes opening up to encourage both investment and humanitarian support. Specifically, I wanted to point out the direct flights from the U.S. and the shipping lanes coming out of Houston. Houston specifically has been brought down from a 6 to 8 month wait time for clearance to a significantly shorter time, and 20 days is the number that we have right now. Now that is a positive, but it does bring with it additional risk because that means that with an influx, there is likely to be longer storage time at the port once they reach Venezuela, and that increases the risk for both physical security and to have verified local handlers. Do proper due diligence on who is storing, where they're storing, how they're storing, and sort of as he alluded to, there are certain areas where there is just a tax to be paid, right? A certain percentage of anything imported or transported is going to fall off the truck, and that's the cost of doing business in those areas. But we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide as well. And then as far as the port access and those things are concerned, it'll be interesting to see in the short term how the oil sector impacts port activity, especially if they start importing equipment to update the infrastructure, start exporting oil products. There are problems with the oil sector. Like I said before, it's an outdated infrastructure. It's investors are risk averse, and the product that comes from Venezuela is often costly and time consuming to refine. So that's part of what's slowing down the progress on that front. And Nathan, do you have anything to add?
Not too much, really. It's just market access, right? So in the infrastructure, seeing how quickly some of this is going to be passed through or starts to really kind of impact, the reliability and the ease of infrastructure. I think that's going to be an indicator to really watch, right? Kind of the challenges with, faster moving cargo now staying in port. Yeah, that's things like that is something to certainly consider as well. It's a very dynamic and ongoing situation, right? A lot of positive indicators though, so let's not doom and gloom this down to the level it doesn't need to be, right? There's a lot of positive indicators. So, but also be aware of the risks as well, right? So sometimes when you see more movement, you see more activity, that brings on a new risk that you may not have foreseen before, right? So that's just kind of how we're kind of approaching this issue. So we'll move on to the next slide.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Nathan. I should have been more clear. The benefits do come with new and sometimes unforeseen risks. So that's why I highlighted longer time in port needing additional considerations. So now, as we get to this slide, this is exactly what he was talking about a few minutes ago. There are different risk areas within Venezuela. Getting to the port and in the urban corridors, the risk is pretty commensurate with most of Latin America. It's a moderate risk, and anybody that's been doing logistics in Latin America or in other similar areas is sort of aware of the risks and mitigation efforts that come with that. But then once you get into the interior zones, specifically if you're looking at last mile logistics, so I think that would probably apply to both MITA and the World Kitchen, because I'm sure that is a lot of the targeted area, and that's where it's a different risk profile, and that's where I was discussing that there's sort of a tax to be paid and to be expected. You're accepting higher risk by getting into those areas, but that's exactly what we do is break down at the granular level in real time what the risks are depending on exactly who is going where and what they're doing there. One of the other sort of complex issues that's noted there at the bottom is when you're conducting these logistics operations or nonprofit organizations operating in the area, there will be interactions that are necessary with government officials and government organizations, and between corruption and between sanctions and political standing, that can add additional risk aside from the armed groups operating in the interior areas. And so it is not a one size fits all type of solution for depending on exactly what the operation is, and it changes rapidly.
Arthur, I was curious to see if you guys have faced anything, or you might, or of course Juan or anyone else, but have you guys experienced anything like this? And that was the first part of my question. The second is, since the Maduro was taken out of the country, is this somewhat a little bit better now, or it's a little too early to tell, or it's just the same?
Sorry, Enrique, was this question for me?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if you, on your daily activities in Venezuela, whether you have actually experienced some of these risks firsthand, and if you have any kind of stories or examples that you can share with the group. Jose, same to you. I know you're doing a lot of logistics there, as well as Juan, of course. But just in general, I mean, have you guys experienced or you have any real examples of what it is like in one area versus the other?
Just to clarify, we don't have any information on that because we are not in Venezuela at the moment.
Okay.
We had an activation from 2019 to 2022 there, and then we left the country because we normally do more like smaller activations after disasters or humanitarian conflicts or whatsoever. And then we were there for 2019 to 2022, and we are here more to understand and to assess if
Perfect.
we are going to be able to go back, if it's necessary for Word Center Kitchen to go back to Venezuela, to what parts are not being covered with food needs, for example, or water or expertise. So we are not there at the moment.
Got it. No, thanks for clarifying. And I guess this information, the context, might actually come handy to assess whether you need to go back and where to go back.
Exactly.
Thanks.
Arthur,
Thanks.
can you explain real quick, just to, because it is a little bit different, can you explain the World Central Kitchen model and how you guys move into territories? That's probably helpful for everybody.
Yes, definitely. We do it as fast as we can. So normally we try to get there from 0 to 24 hours to a place that has been reached, has been under a disaster like floods, landslides, earthquakes, and etc. But also when there are humanitarian needs during war, for example, we are in Gaza, we are in Ukraine. So that's in our website as well. We like to call ourselves the 911 of food relief. So whenever and wherever there are people in need after a disaster or humanitarian crisis, we try our best to be the first ones to go there to in this more necessary moment, meaning when the crisis is there and present, and most of the governments or other NGOs are still assessing, we try to move as fast as we can to provide food to the people.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
So, sorry, go ahead.
No, you, Casey.
Yeah, so I just wanted to cap this slide by saying I think for cargo shipments, probably the highest risk is ensuring compliance with U.S. law when it comes to dealing with both government entities or their network. And then once the cargo imports have taken place, that's when the risk shifts So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, either Enrique or Nathan. I think for Vector that is what I would see personally as the closest alligator to the boat, so to speak, because things are changing so rapidly. So compliance is a big aspect there. And then once you're past that stage, that's when the other risks really play a more important role.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially if you're shipping from the US, right? We're assuming that's the case, but of course, that's not the only country that's currently shipping things to Venezuela, and so it varies. But we have both Jose and Juan who actively ship a lot to Venezuela, so I'll let them give their thoughts on your question.
Well, in the case of insurance, we have support from some companies. We are working with Nova Marine Storage, and they stopped covering uh, cargo going through Venezuelan port inside the country. But since last year, they started, or at least for us, they started to extend the coverage until delivery inside the Venezuelan land. Uh, when you were talking about if we feel so difference after Maduro West's arrest, I need to say that we participate all years in 4 motor tenders. They invite to us to quote logistic services from many places around the world, moving cars to Venezuela. So before the January the 3rd, we were in the tender. They sent to us the volumes that they expected to move from the United States, from Asia, from Europe, from different places. And after the January the 3rd, they invite all of us again, changing the volumes, some places duplicated and some places triplicated. So just with that actions, at least for more, Venezuela changed the planning for 2026 import volumes. So yes, something happened after, and the difference is feeling okay. But as Juan told and mentioned, the situation about uh, Rodriguez is still there, recognizes as a government, and we don't know how much time is gonna be there. And on the other hand, the army is still under our control, and we don't know how clear is all the armies is at the moment. It's not giving a total confidence that we can go through a near future election. Remember that the army is the custody of all the elections process in
Right.
Venezuela. If we don't have an army clean, we don't feel confident. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Jose.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh, I'm sorry,
go ahead,
Ernesto.
go ahead.
I would like to add something very important because here in Venezuela we are in public hospitals. Always we have a good relation with all the team on the hospitals. Why? Because our objective is try to support the health in Venezuela, and we are not talking about politicians with them, and the directors of the hospitals, is the general director, but there is a lot of directors of the areas. And for example, maybe 3 weeks ago, we received a request to one of the director asking to have a new water plant. To be here in Venezuela, be part of the hospital is great. It's great, and I think for that reason, always we have a really good relation with them. Of course, in the future, when the things is changing, we are happy to continue working with the new government, of course. But in a point is when the country have amazing government, the government are working very well, our objectives will change. Because we are doing the basic things because the government can do or don't want to do this kind of things, but no different, no risk. Years ago when we sent medication, for example, the medication arrived everything very well to different hospitals. I think about this question, my answer is everything continued the same. We have a good relation with them.
Can I talk? Okay.
All right.
Regarding logistics, the biggest challenge we have, as Jose mentioned, is insurance, not only for the cargo, but for the vessels and for the planes as well. Changing depending on the time, it has been moments in which we don't have coverage at all for sea terminals in Venezuela. It has changed. This is caused by different sanctions during different points of time. Okay. Nowadays, we're seeing that the big players are coming back, that some of these sanctions are relaxing, but until they are there in some way and not only waivers, we will still have some companies that are not willing to take the risk and come and provide full coverage in Venezuela. Okay. As also mentioned, the delivery within the country is one of the most complex things to cover because they are not sure if the roads are safe, if they can go to certain points of the country or not. Okay. What we're seeing in oil and gas and energy sector that we're seeing an improvement is most of the companies that were already here. Some of them already have equipment or some purchase orders that were delayed, or for some reasons they were not doing the business at the time, and now they are taking those orders back and they are moving the equipment, and in some way they have to recover all the operation. The electric system is really in a bad shape, so a lot of equipment must come. One of the biggest problems we have with the sanctions is that the technology that is in Venezuela was implemented by the US. So fighting against the US was one of the biggest mistakes that any government can take when they are the builders of your oil industry, of your water industry, or your electric system. So if we want to do not only upgrades but repairing from the major systems, we have to go back to companies such as General Electric or Siemens, or companies that are in the US and some other parts of the world, that must be sure that they can send all the supplies that are required for repairing or new constructions. One of the biggest problems we have during all this time with the sanctions was the over-compliance. It is very expensive for the companies to have a legal department checking all the operations. So they prefer to stop and not doing the operation and be in the safe side. And this over-compliance has made that some businesses that even were allowed Some companies will say that it was not possible. It was not true, but I don't blame them. It's really costly to check it. Okay. Uh, let's say Jose was mentioned cars, for example. If we have to, we are not building cars anymore. We had an industry that built over 250,000 units a year. Now is less than 1,000. So we have to import a lot of cars, of course. But the duties and taxes and regulations here are crazy. So this must be flexible. They have to decrease the duties and taxes and all that. The licenses, the permits, that must be flexibilized. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to comply with, this restructuration of the thing. Regarding the health sector that Mayra was talking about, there was something very, very curious about it. For the public health sector, when a patient was going into the hospital was requesting to bring almost all the supplies. After January 3rd, now some of those supplies are in the hospital. We're sure that the supplies were there, but the way the hospitals were asking this material, was something that was functioning in the wrong way. Most of the things that are consigned for the health ministry, of course, goes into the public sector. We had a case in which a private company from Switzerland was sending cancer medicine, and the legislation changed, and now they had to pay for a donation, duties and taxes, and it was shipments over $1 million. So duties and taxes were about $400,000, and they stopped doing it, and the public health ministry, they just didn't do anything about it. We talk about this case, and they say, well, there's nothing to do, and it was not really the situation. In some cases, some of the officials, they just don't care. It's sad to say this, but it's not all of them. Most of them, are involved in what they are doing, and of course, if we can help and we can see that the people, have the proper healthcare, it will be great. In the biggest cities, it's not as bad as in the small cities outside, but it is what it is. So I don't know if this answers the thing about logistics.
It does, Juan, and thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, and just very quickly, this is not on the slides, but one of the notes that I did have was insurance implications. And I don't know, Nathan, if you wanted to speak to that just briefly before we move on.
Right. Yeah, it obviously at the surface level, right? Anytime sanctions become changed, that means on the insurance market side, new players are interested in supporting materials or new market access, right? So for organizations looking to do business or to sustain or expand business in Venezuela, it's going to be, in all cases, it's going to warrant a reconversation with your brokers, your insurance brokers and providers, right? To make sure that your coverage is what you have had in place if you had been working there is relevant, and what adjustments you need to make, right? Because there's probably going to need to be some adjustments made. If you're operating in Venezuela and you've not had a conversation with your broker, probably it's a little bit overdue, I'd say. So I'll just kind of keep that at the surface level. Another thing to consider here, security environment for zone differentiation, right? We talked about elections in Venezuela, right? That's a long ways away, likely. But even if that were to come in the near term or intermediate term, understand kind of like what we've done a lot of election security support in a lot of different countries with organizations, right? So this is going to be the wrinkle that could definitely dramatically impact on the ground conditions, right? So just kind of be aware that's something, and I think most everyone here on that call understands that. but just be aware when that warning comes down on the horizon that elections is deemed to be probable. Consider that, right, and be aware of kind of what you need to be prepared for, right, in terms of hibernation, evacuation, and all the other kind of like precautions you take for when things dramatically change, right? Because there's going to be certainly some elements involved in election cycles who are going to be losing power, and there's going to be some repercussions from that. So just be aware of that. Back to you, Casey.
Yeah, great. And thank you, Nathan. And I just wanted to also, because of what Nathan mentioned, one of my roles previously was working for the now defunct CISA, which was under Department of Homeland Security, Critical Infrastructure and Security Agency. And I worked pretty heavily on election security, both here in the United States and overseas. So I'm able to provide some insights on some of those things as well, especially if anybody has connections with like a watchdog type of organization. And I won't go any deeper into it than that for the purposes of this conversation, but that is another area that we have some expertise in. All right, so this one I'll be relatively quick on because I think everybody is pretty well aware. Like I said in the opening, very high need, very low resources, and so that's where the reliance likely on a lot of NGO funding, some corporate investment, and potentially third country or other country foreign investment. Unfortunately, as we're all, I'm sure, also aware, USAID was the primary funder for a lot of these types of situations, and that funding is not available as it used to be. I know the UK has made some investment plans, the EU rather, and I'm sure there will be more to come. I think probably the private sector is going to be a big player once the political situation is more ironed out. Their willingness to invest only benefits them in the long run, so that's where we might see some future investment. But right now we're trying to do more with less. So that's really the big part here, and that's why collaboration is important. That's why getting these kinds of groups of people working toward the same end goal is important. And Nathan, did you have anything to add to that one? No. Okay.
Yeah, nothing to add to that other than just one small point, and it's kind of similar to on the other call with the Ukraine group post-conflict scenario where the diaspora, if you go back on the slide here, I went forward too quickly, right? Kind of the polling numbers here shows, right? Would return if stable, right? Planning short-term return, and all that. That's definitely a factor, something to kind of monitor ahead of time, right? There's not a lot of resources, so if a large population, the confidence is high and people start moving back, and that's they all need places to live and move about, right? So that's a consideration to keep in mind in terms of resource management and finding resources. So if the population of the city grows or traffic starts coming in, just kind of be aware of that as well.
Yeah, exactly, and that will be a driver of corporate investment as well. It'll sort of be one will feed off of the other because if there's no new investment for job security, financial gain, people are going to be less willing to move back. So that's why I think, just from my sort of analysis, that the corporate investment is going to be the main driver for long-term stability. But until we get political stability, that won't be the case, I don't believe. And then, so now to this slide. The main thing I wanted to point out from this slide is that there is a lot of conflicting information, right? So these numbers are what we would say are the highest confidence estimates that we were able to find from reporting sources. But because of the volatility, it's hard to know exactly what is correct and what is being misreported, either on purpose or accidentally. But this is what we have the highest confidence in, and it again points to the volatility in the political decision making, the political environment right now.
Yeah, one key point to keep in mind here, for those who are still in power, right? The underlying assumption is that they're incentivized by commercial growth, right? They're incentivized, right? So if we start to see indicators that show that they are no longer incentivized, either because of elections, power changes, or commercial factors not directly impacting them, then we could start to see some of the control measures being utilized to keep things, in the state it is now, much less reliable, right? So that's something to consider, and certainly in the weeks and months ahead for sure. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all this slide kind of helps cover and address.
Okay, and so here I think is sort of the so what slide. And I think that this highlights that the need is absolutely there, and the opportunity to be sort of an early mover, a first to market type of situation is very well established. Whoever's able to identify capabilities, identify risk, implement mitigation efforts, and move fast is really going to be what separates both from a business and from a greater good type of perspective. And so that's why the importance of real-time analytics, real-time intelligence updates, real-time support is, I think, going to be key. And the reality is the situation is not cut and dry. It's not ideal. That's why a lot of people are shying away or waiting to see. But I think there is a very strong opportunity to be one of the early contributors to what we hope is the rebuilding of Venezuela's economy and quality of life and everything else. So I don't want to, again, I can dive into each of these bullet points. I think everybody is probably pretty aware. But Nathan, did you have a different takeaway that you wanted to hit on there, or anything like that?
Yeah, not really. Opportunities, considerations, right? I think everyone's on call is tracking that, right? So the other side of opportunity is risk, right? And that changes based on the scenario, right? So that's kind of the context that this shows out. And that's really kind of about it for like the briefing that we had presented or prepared for today. Like I did mention, the team is releasing Manual Doctrine 2.0 a little bit later on today, actually. So I'll share that out with the team. You guys can take a look at that. But in terms of Venezuela, a lot of opportunity, and for a lot of organizations, first there's going to be a needs assessment, right? What is needed based on location, population, demographics. That is the first part. And next is the risk assessment, right? Look, how do we get it there? What do those steps actually look like? So that's where having people on the ground that can kind of read, the atmospherics and understand what's happening is incredibly helpful. That's why these groups work well, and that's why it's a good practice to do, to have groups with people in places and organizations that can share that expertise. So we're happy to share our part from the intelligence and security side. And that's pretty much all we have for today on the briefing. If there's any questions that you want to ask, anyone in the group wants to ask, or in case you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, briefly. I won't go into it. Just very quick point that we did not include in the briefing. Understanding geopolitics more broadly, the current actions in Iran will also be one of the factors that will influence what's happening in Venezuela, because there has been historically a relatively strong foothold from Iranian influencers within Venezuela, and so I would be interested to see, and that'll be, again, it just adds to the volatility and why the environment will continue to change very rapidly.
Well, thank you so much, Casey, and thank you so much to Nathan and your team. This has been very interesting and, of course, very valuable to everyone here on the call. We're almost, actually, we're already over the time that we had, so I want to make sure that we value everyone's time. I don't know if anyone has any further questions for anyone on this call. We will post the recording of the call, and of course, we're going to share the contact information. So two things. One, questions, and then I'll let you guys see if you have any brief questions. And then two, let's just agree in our next call. I know what the best timeline would be, but I think that it worked last time. We all agreed that we should probably give it at least another month. And so I just wanted to go over this with you and see if we can do it another month, or should we push it a little bit more than maybe 1 and 2 months? So I just want to get a sense on that. So first, Q&A, general Q&A, anyone? Okay. Well, we'll have the contact info so you can reach out to anyone that you might need to contact. Now, in terms of the next call, well, two things. One, raise your hands if you feel it's a good idea to have a new call. I'll start with that. Okay, so let's definitely have a new call. I like that. And then, do you think, let's see, 1 month from now, raise your hand, and then we'll go with 2 months from now. So 1 month? Okay, so we'll catch up in 1 month so we can keep track of the developments. As Juan said last time, and of course everyone said it this time, it will take a while to rebuild Venezuela after what's going on. So we just want to make sure that that everyone's here and you are connected. And if there's anything we can do to help, feel free to reach out to us as soon as possible. Christy, anything else? Do you want to close it up? And
I just again thank you to everyone for your participation. It's great to be on calls like these with such a diverse landscape of people and such varieties in your background and your history, both personally and professional. So we're grateful that you all showed up here today, and just look forward to continuing this conversation. I will email out the recording. Nathan and Casey, if you can send me the presentation, then I'll make sure that is in the follow-ups as well. And then in the follow-up email, if you didn't see it previously, we also have a WhatsApp group in case you have questions or anything, need to connect in between, then yeah, reach out to us. We're here. We love connecting people doing good things, and that includes all of you. So we're grateful that you're all here, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
see you guys.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Okay.